You know the drill. It's what, 6:45 a.m.? You haven't even had coffee yet, but your hand is already reaching for the phone on the nightstand.
Oh, yeah?
You see that Airbnb icon, and your stomach does that little flip. Is it a new booking? That'd be great. Or is it a notification that the guest in Unit 4 uh, can't figure out the smart lock?
Or worse.
Or worse, a 3-star review because the vibe wasn't right, or the city noise was too loud for a downtown apartment.
It's what we call the Airbnb hamster wheel. You're moving so fast, you're exhausted, but you aren't actually going anywhere.
Yeah.
You're just servicing the algorithm.
And that's the terrifying part, isn't it? I mean, you feel like a business owner. You got the property, you furnished it, you're paying the utilities, but you're effectively on call for a boss you've never even met.
A boss that changes the rules, the algorithm, without telling you.
Exactly.
And that's the core tension we're really unpacking today. We're looking at a stack of insights that challenges the fundamental identity of most hosts. The thesis here is pretty aggressive, actually. It argues that if you are relying on Airbnb for your bookings, you don't have a business strategy. You just have a lead source, and a really volatile one at that.
Okay, hold on, though. I can just hear people yelling at their phones right now.
I know.
I'm a super host. I've got 5 years of reviews. That's my asset. And you're saying that's not a business because I worked hard for that badge.
It's an asset, sure, but it's an asset built on what the source material calls borrowed land.
Borrowed land.
Think about it. You own the mortgage, the furniture, and all the liability. But Airbnb owns the guest data, the credit card processing, and most importantly, the visibility.
Right.
If their algorithm decides tomorrow that your listing is less relevant than the new guy down the street who just undercut your price by $10, your business effectively vanishes.
That is a chilling thought. So you're paying with more than just the 3% host fee or whatever the service fee is these days.
So much more.
You're paying with your security.
Exactly. You are renting your customers from them. So the whole mission of this deep dive is to figure out how to stop being a gig worker for an app and start being a professional operator.
Okay.
And that means pivoting to a world where you own the client relationship. Specifically, we're talking about the world of midterm rentals.
Midterm rentals. So 30 days or more.
Right. But not just long stays on Airbnb. We're talking about specifically targeting the corporate housing market.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because usually when people freak out about their Airbnb bookings dropping, maybe it's the slow season, maybe the economy is weird, the standard advice you see everywhere is diversify.
Yes.
Don't just do Airbnb. Get on VRBO. Get on Furnished Finder. List on Booking.com. Just spray your listing all over the internet.
The spray and pray method.
Exactly. More eyeballs equals more bookings. Right. I mean, that seems like basic math.
In theory, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But the source material we're looking at today calls that platform roulette. And it argues it's actually a trap.
Why is it a trap? I mean, isn't Coca-Cola sold in every supermarket? Why shouldn't my listing be on every single site?
Because Coca-Cola has a massive distribution network. You have a smartphone and probably another full-time job.
Fair point.
If you list everywhere, you aren't building a strategy. You're just trading one landlord for another. You're increasing your operational complexity syncing calendars across 5 platforms, managing different inboxes,
The calendar.
dealing with 5 different sets of cancellation policies, all without actually solving the core problem. You still don't own the guest.
You're just betting on different colors at the casino. The platform always wins.
Precisely. And the vulnerability remains. If you are chasing short-term tourists across 5 different platforms, you're still subject to seasonality. You're still subject to the party risk.
Oh, yeah.
You're still subject to the whim of a single review. The shift we're talking about today is moving away from B2C business to consumer and moving toward B2B, business to business.
Stable, boring, predictable contracts.
Boring is the goal here. We want revenue that doesn't fluctuate because it rained on a Saturday or because a guest didn't like the thread count on the sheets.
Right.
We want the kind of revenue that pays the mortgage first every single time.
But this brings us to the who. Because if we aren't looking for the weekend bachelorette party or the couple on a romantic getaway, who are we actually trying to get into our houses for 30 days at a time? I mean, who even rents a house for a month besides, like, a digital nomad?
And that's the misconception. We aren't looking for digital nomads. We are looking for the professional guest. The source breaks this down into 4 main buckets that really keep the midterm rental economy alive.
Okay.
Travel nurses, insurance adjusters, construction crews, and relocation families.
Okay, travel nurses I've heard of. That's a huge market, especially post-pandemic. But insurance adjusters, that feels a little random.
It's not random if you look at the data.
Yeah.
Think about it. A hurricane hits Florida, or a massive hailstorm hits Texas,
Oh, yeah.
or wildfires in California. Thousands of claims need to be processed. Insurance companies deploy armies of adjusters to that location. They aren't there for a week. They're there for 3, 4, maybe 6 months at a time.
And they need to live somewhere.
They need housing immediately.
Yeah.
And here's the key, the really important part. They aren't paying for it out of their own pocket. The company is.
That changes the dynamic completely.
Totally. And the same goes for construction crews. If a new hospital is being built or a highway extension, you have project managers, foremen, specialized engineers coming in from out of state. They need a place to sleep for the duration of the project.
And I've got to assume their needs are totally different from the tourist. A tourist wants, I don't know, a neon sign that says good vibes only for their selfie. They want a hot tub.
The adjuster hates the neon sign, and the construction foreman does not care about the hot tub.
What do they care about then?
Sleep, functionality, reliability. The adjuster works weird hours. They want blackout curtains in the bedroom. They want fast, reliable Wi-Fi because they're uploading massive claim files. The construction crew wants a kitchen that actually functions because they're cooking dinner every night to save money on per diem.
Right.
They don't want cute. They want it works.
So it's a shift from hospitality to utility. You're not selling an experience. You're selling a solution to a housing problem.
Exactly. And here is the massive friction point that most hosts miss. And the source material really hammers this home. If you want to unlock this B2B money, you have to solve the paperwork problem. Specifically, the invoice.
Is it really that big of a deal? I mean, Airbnb sends a receipt. Can I just PDF that and email it to the insurance company?
You can try, and you might get paid eventually. But corporate accounting departments hate Airbnb receipts.
Why? Money is money, right?
And not to an accountant.
Yeah.
Airbnb receipts are messy. They often lump service fees, cleaning fees, and local taxes into line items that trigger flags in corporate expense systems. Plus, you're dealing with a third-party payer. The credit card statement says Airbnb, not Downtown Housing LLC.
I see. So the corporate housing coordinator at the insurance firm is looking at this Airbnb receipt, trying to figure out what part is rent and what part is a service fee, and they're just tearing their hair out.
Exactly. They have a budget, they need a clean paper trail, and they often need a W-9 form from the vendor. If you can be the professional operator who says, here is a clean, itemized invoice from my LLC, here is my tax ID, and here are the dates, you just solved a huge problem for them.
You made their job easier.
That is how you win the contract over the superhost with the neon sign.
That makes so much sense. You're speaking their language. You're not just a host anymore. You're a vendor.
You're a vendor. That is the entire mindset shift.
So we've established that Airbnb is borrowed land and that the real gold is in these boring, reliable corporate contracts, but we still have to get them in the door. The source calls Airbnb a lead generator.
Yes, and this is a crucial reframe. We aren't saying delete your Airbnb account. We are not saying burn the boats. We're saying recognize it for what it actually is.
Oh.
It is the top of the funnel. It is not the whole funnel.
So you use Airbnb to catch the fish, but you don't keep the fish in Airbnb's bucket.
That's a good way to put it. You use their massive marketing budget and their global reach to get the initial eyeball on your property. But then you need a mechanism to capture that credibility. And this leads right to the discussion about the website.
Oh, right. The website. Now, I have to be honest here. Usually when people hear build a direct booking website, they panic.
They do.
They think they need to become an SEO wizard. They think they need to be blogging about top 10 coffee shops in the area just to get traffic from Google.
And that is absolutely the trap. The source is very clear on this. Your direct booking website does not need to be a traffic machine. You are not trying to beat Expedia or Airbnb at the SEO game.
You'll lose.
You will lose. You just don't have their budget.
So if it's not for traffic, what is it for? Why even bother building it?
It's a credibility tool. Think of it as a digital business card. It turns a warm lead, so someone who has already found you, maybe through a referral or an initial platform, search into a committed guest.
Okay, walk me through that.
Let's say an insurance agent sees your place on a listing site or hears about you. The first thing they're going to do is Google you.
Of course.
They want to see if you are a real business. When they land on your site, they don't need a blog. They need to see a professional logo, clear photos, a phone number, and a Book Now button that looks secure. They just want to see that you exist outside of an app.
It validates that you're a professional. It says, I'm a professional operator, not just a guy with a spare room.
Precisely. It's all about trust. If you have a professional site, they feel comfortable sending you a check or wiring money. If you just have an Airbnb profile, they feel like they have to stay on the platform for their own safety.
Okay, so we have the mindset, we have the target audience, we have the credibility tool. Now I want the practical stuff, the how-to, because this is where people get nervous. If I try to pull a guest off Airbnb, aren't I risking getting banned? The terms of service are pretty terrifying.
They are, and for good reason. I mean, Airbnb wants to protect its fees. The source provides a very specific tactic for this, but it requires navigating the rules of engagement really carefully. It distinguishes between soliciting and influencing.
Soliciting versus influencing. Okay, what's the difference? Because to me, they sound like the same thing.
Soliciting is going on the Airbnb Messenger app before a booking is confirmed and saying, hey, call me at this number to save some money.
Yeah, don't do that.
That will get you banned immediately. The algorithm scans for phone numbers, email addresses, keywords like pay directly. You absolutely cannot do that. You have to play by the rules for that initial contact.
Right. If you use their platform to find the person, you owe them the fee. That seems fair.
Exactly. But influencing happens once the guest is yours. The strategy laid out here is a three-step process. Step 1, secure the initial booking on the platform. Let Airbnb do its job as a lead generator. Take the booking, pay the fees, play the game.
Okay, got it. Step 1 is standard. The guest moves in.
Step 2, brand the unit. When they walk in, they should see your brand. A welcome book with your logo and your website, maybe your fridge magnet with your direct support number. You are establishing that you are the host, not Airbnb. You're building that relationship.
Yeah.
Step 3 is the trigger moment. In the world of project-based work, remember, these are nurses, and cruise extensions are incredibly common. Projects run long. Claims take more time, so you wait for the guest to ask about extending their stay.
Ah, okay. So you don't push it on them. You don't knock on the door and say, hey, want to cut a deal. You wait for them to come to you and say, hey, this job is running long. Can I stay another month?
That is your green light. Because now the transaction is about a new set of dates, and the source suggests a very specific script here. You don't just say, Venmo me. That sounds sketchy.
Right.
You frame it entirely as a benefit to them.
What's the line? How do you sell it?
You say something like, I'd love to extend your stay. Since you're already in the unit and we've built that trust, we can actually process this extension directly. That way, I can save you the recurring Airbnb service fees and keep your rate stable.
Keep your rate stable. That's smart, because on Airbnb, dynamic pricing might jack up the rate for next month if there's a local event or something.
Exactly. Or just the service fees alone on a $3,000 month-long stay can add up to hundreds of dollars for the guest. So you become the hero. You're saving them money and a huge administrative hassle.
Let's look at the math here. For the guest, it's obvious. Saving money, guaranteed dates. But for the host, why is this better than just letting them click extend on the app?
For the host, it's a triple win. First, no additional host fees on that extension. That's 3 to 15% back in your pocket depending on your setup.
Okay.
Second, you have total control over the deposit and the contract. But third, and most importantly, you now possess the guest relationship. You have their email, their phone number, and a direct billing history with them.
You've moved them from borrowed land to your own territory.
Yes. The source actually shared a real-world story about this. A travel nurse booked an initial stay of 31 days via Airbnb, standard booking. But about 2 weeks before she was set to check out, she reached out. She needed to stay longer.
And that's the trigger moment.
The host used the script. Let's do this directly, save you the fees. She ended up extending for 2 full months directly.
Wow.
Think about that. The initial lead cost the host the Airbnb fees. Fine, that's a customer acquisition cost. But the next 60 days of revenue were completely fee-free. Same guest, zero drama, higher profit margin. And because they had built that relationship, the transition was totally seamless.
And I imagine that nurse is a lot easier to deal with than finding a new guest every 3 days, washing the sheets, resetting the keypad code.
Significantly. And this connects to the bigger picture of what we call the referral compound effect. This is where the passive nature of the business actually starts to kick in.
This is what really caught my attention, because usually when a guest leaves an Airbnb, you're back to square one. You're back to staring at the empty calendar, hoping the algorithm likes you today. But the source argues that with these professional guests, the end of a stay isn't the end of the line.
It's the beginning of a network.
Yeah.
We have to remember that these professions are really tight-knit communities. Nurses talk to other nurses on their shift. Where are you staying? Oh, I found this great place. The landlord is super chill. The blackout curtains are amazing.
Word of mouth.
But specifically, corporate word of mouth. If a construction foreman finds a great spot for his crew, he's not just going to leave a review. He's going to use that spot for the next project. Or he's going to tell the foreman of the next team coming in to take over the electrical work.
So you aren't just housing one person, you're auditioning for a whole company.
Exactly. The concept here is one partner, 1 year.
One partner, 1 year. Break that down.
The idea is that a single strong relationship, say, with one staffing agency recruiter or one construction project manager, can fill your calendar for an entire year. You don't need 1,000 views on Airbnb. You don't need to go viral. You need one person who consistently sends people your way.
That sounds like actual freedom. That sounds like you can actually turn your phone off at night.
It creates a feedback loop. Your calendar says booked, but if you looked at your Airbnb dashboard, it would look like you have zero activity. You aren't getting new inquiries. You aren't getting new bookings on the app. The algorithm thinks you're dead.
But your bank account is full.
That is the definition of stability. You've graduated. You aren't playing the game anymore. You aren't asking an algorithm for permission to earn a living.
It's funny because it's almost this invisible success. To the outside world, it looks like your listing is failing. But in reality, you've just bypassed the middleman.
You've moved from being a host to being a housing provider. And that ownership is where the real value of the business lies. If you want to sell this business one day, selling a chaotic Airbnb listing with a bunch of random reviews is hard. Selling a Rolodex of corporate relationships and a history of direct bookings, that's an asset. That is a sellable business.
That is a massive difference. It really makes you rethink the whole superhost badge. It's nice to have, but it doesn't pay the bills like a direct contract does.
The badge is a vanity metric. Cash flow control are business metrics. Which one do you want?
I love that. Vanity metric versus business metric. It really cuts right through the noise.
It's the truth.
So let's bring this all together. We started with the anxiety of the hamster wheel, waking up to check the app, terrified of a bad review. We've moved through the realization that listing everywhere platform roulette is just noise. The real strategy is targeting these specific professionals, nurses, adjusters, crews who need reliability and invoices, not neon signs.
And we learned that the website is just a credibility badge to close the deal, not some magic traffic wand. And most importantly, we walked through the tactical move. Use the platform for the first stay, but aggressively and politely pivot to direct booking when that extension request comes in.
It's a shift from, I hope the algorithm picks me, to, I own this relationship.
Couldn't have said it better.
So here is the question we want to leave you with today. We've talked a lot about the how, but I want you to think about the what. What are you actually building? Are you building a business, or are you just managing a profile? Because if your entire livelihood can be wiped out by a terms of service update or a glitch in a search algorithm, you don't really have a business. You have a gig. And true freedom, that comes from owning the relationship, not renting the audience.
That's the takeaway. Don't build your castle on rented land.
Thanks for diving in with us today. Go check your current bookings. Is there an extension waiting to happen? You might be sitting on your first direct corporate client right now and not even know it. We'll see you in the next deep dive.